Hi friends, and welcome to another SQUINT podcast. This week I want to share with you the idea of faith. And I have the idea of what really makes our faith great. So many people talk about having great faith, and I believe I believe there's a sense in which we need to have great faith. You know, that kind of faith that is bold, that kind of faith that is willing to step out and to reach out and to trust God. I really think that's important, and I think it's valid. I'm a little uncomfortable with the idea of people saying, well, the reason you haven't had healing in your life, or the reason why you haven't had, physical prosperity in your life is because your faith isn't strong enough. I'm a little uncomfortable with that, and that's not what I'm going to talk about at all. What I want to talk about is what makes great faith, and I see two things in this passage, at least in this passage, that I want to share with you today. I see it's the idea of the first part that I just mentioned is having the faith that's bold and willing to step out, not really knowing, I don't want to say, I suppose you could say not knowing where we're going or what we're doing. I suppose there's that aspect of it. But there's also the aspect of faith in knowing that God is able. And I think that's the kind of faith that is what we might call a great faith, is knowing that God is able. Because it's actually made up of two pieces. The first piece is that we have the opportunity to step out and to trust God. And then two, we have the understanding, the knowledge, the understanding, or maybe the experience that He is able. As one person once said, we're not saved by the greatness of our faith. We are actually saved by the object of our faith, that being Jesus. Well, let's look at the passage here and see if that really rings true. This is Luke chapter 8. It's a woman who had been, I'm just going to look at verses 47 and 48, but the larger context is there's a woman who had an infirmity, had a disease, a sickness. She had been bleeding for 12 years, and she had just kind of like run out of where do I go? And maybe you know somebody that's like that has faced an illness or a sickness or something, and you're at what you might call your wit's end because you've reached out to so many, and it's just been futile. Okay? Well, this is the case of this woman here. So now I'm just going to look at verses 40. It's Luke chapter 8. We're going to look just at verses 47 and 48. Then the woman, seeing that she could not go unnoticed, Jesus is drawing a crowd, came trembling and fell at Jesus' feet. In the presence of all the people, she told why she had touched him, and how she had been instantly healed. Then he said to her, "Daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace." I guess I left out that piece where Jesus has been in a large crowd. This woman, bleeding for 12 years, at her wit's end, can't get close enough, so she reaches out and just touches him. You know, she can't have that confrontation, so she just reaches out and touches him and his garment, and she's healed. All right? And then he knows, Jesus says, power went out from me. Who did this? Now she's got to come forward. So she comes forward, and he says, "Daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace." And so what I wrote as an observation to this is the woman had been bleeding for 12 years. No one could heal her. She came to Jesus to simply touch him in faith. She realized that he could help and heal her. Jesus commends her for having faith in him. Your faith has healed you. Go in peace. He said, your faith has healed you. She was not saved by the greatness of her faith, but by the object of her faith. Jesus is the object of her faith. And what I see here is that, yes, she had, I see, so there again, back to our question, what's great faith? Great faith is those two pieces. Is one, it's the boldness to step out, and two, the understanding or the knowledge that Jesus is able, that Jesus has the power, that Jesus can do this thing for us. You know, you have not because you ask not type of thing. So, he says, your faith has healed you, so go in peace. So I believe that it's those two pieces there. It's just not that she had, well, she had great faith. But what made her faith great was not that she was great, but it was her boldness to step out. And then you can't dismiss, you can't leave out the fact that she was saved by the object or healed by the object of her faith, Jesus. Those two go together as I see it. And to me, that's what makes great faith. It's not that, you know, Clint Abbott, who's maybe a visionary, and I'm bold and I step out and all that, you know, that's faith. But what really makes it great is I depend upon God. I depend upon the Lord because I know that He can do. I know what He has done in the past and that He'll do it again in the future. And those two pieces together make great faith. And so my word to you is step out, be bold, have confidence in Jesus, knowing that He is able. So that's my word for you today. I have a prayer request for you to go along with this word today about thinking about great faith. My prayer request is that Michelle and I have been praying. And for the better part of a year, we have been praying about returning to vocational pastoral ministry. And we weren't sure what that form would look like. And church planting has always been on the list. However, we took a year, we gave consideration, we contacted local churches, actually was looked at by one church quite closely, but God did not open any of those doors. So now what we're doing is we are exploring the idea of planting a life-giving church in the Newaygo area. And so this is a bold step of faith, bold that we step out in faith, but we trust the Lord because we know what He's done with us in the past. Having planted 2 churches in the past, we know what He's done and that He can do it again. So what we're doing is on Monday, October 4th at 7 o'clock, we are hosting a new church interest meeting. We have reached out to people who maybe have ideas that are similar, and we are asking, and so we're going to talk about, in that meeting, we're going to talk about the idea of launching a new church in the Newaygo area. You're on my podcast list. Now, if you're in the Newaygo area and you don't go to a church, or you're not plugged in, you're not connected, and this sounds of interest to you, I would love for you to email me, SQUINT, SQUINT, Abbott, ABBOTT, @gmail.com. Or you can call or text me, 616-550-1067. Or you can private message me if you're a friend of mine on Facebook. And if this is of an interest to you, sure, I'd love to share a little bit about that with you. On the other hand, if not, if you're already, that's good, I'm in a church, I'm happy. What I ask is because you're a friend and you're on my podcast list, I would ask you to pray for us. Pray that the Lord would give us clarity and wisdom and that we would see His plan in all of this, all right? So, and that He would provide for anything and everything that we might need. So that's my prayer request, and that's my thought. And that's my idea today, this weekend, about great faith. Have a great week, and I pray that your faith will be great because you're bold, you step out, and you have confidence that Jesus is able to do what He says He can do. Have a terrific week.